Hey everyone, it's time again for the SMC Journal podcast. This is the show where we talk about everything that has to do with software engineering, hardware infrastructure, testing products, tuning, observability, AI, security, you name it, we are talking about on this show. Today will be a little bit different because we mostly talk about software here. We're talking about hardware and a specific type of hardware. I'm going to tell you my story and hopefully it's something you can relate to. Before I do that, I want to remind you, if you like this show and you like my channel, be great if you could subscribe to it, like this video, ring the bell if you want to hear about new episodes as soon as they come out so you can be one of the first ones to watch it. Helps me figure out how to make better and better content for you. Like I said, this is going to be a little bit different. I just want to tell you a story of what happened to me and why I switched over from Ubiquiti Unify wireless access points over to Peplink access points and why you might want to consider doing the same. So, background of this is a few years ago when everybody had to work from home in IT for a specific reason that I think most people would understand why. I was doing more and more work at home, more intense work in a test lab, and I realized that I had a weak link in my chain, and that was my Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi router was probably over 10 years old. It was one of the big box stores, maybe a Netgear, something like that, that I had just picked up to use. But that's, just a consumer grade Wi-Fi access point. Realized I need something a little better than that. I went and bought a Ubiquiti Dream Machine Special Edition, and that has been a really good machine, and I like the interface to it. And I started getting into Ubiquiti products, and I noticed that a lot of the home lab folks on YouTube that review home lab products, they use these Ubiquiti products as well. So they've got a pretty good reputation. I do love the Dream Machine. I decided to go with their wireless access points. This is before I even knew about Peplink. Since then, I have developed a relationship with Peplink and West Networks. So, full transparency, I work with them and I partner with them, but I am also a fan of their products. It's why I work with them, is because I like their products. I started using Peplink products for some other things and noticed that the quality was pretty high. I've used their switches, I've used their network routers, and several different kinds of routers for both home use and mobile use, and just been really impressed with them. And I work with their reseller, West Networks. I was on one of my infamous road trips around the US for a few weeks with my show, The Performance Tour, and I came back home to find that we had had a power outage. Now, I do all the things to protect my equipment from power outages, even long-term ones, and I have a way for all of my machines to recover from that, or at least so I thought. But when I got back home, I realized although everything was running, Wi-Fi was not working very well. It would work for a few seconds, and then all of a sudden, the access point would go offline. It wouldn't even be listed. It would connect again, then it would disappear. So I started looking into it a little further. I powered it off, powered it back on, and after about a minute or so, it becomes available. Just powering off and on usually will fix something that's wrong with an access point because there's not a whole lot to them. It did not. I also ended up going and trying to troubleshoot it. I ended up resetting the entire unit, did everything that the support document said that I should do. And the problem was, as soon as I connected to it and actually started to use it, like doing a speed test is transferring a file down and up again, you'll notice that it just goes from really, really good connectivity and then just quickly goes down to nothing and just stops the transmission. And I have never been able to figure out why that is. So I got a little frustrated with that. And then I said, you know what? I've been using Peplink products for a while. Why don't I try their wireless access point? Got it in, installed it within 24 hours of getting it, and had Wi-Fi running perfectly. I noticed a immediate performance improvement of download speeds. You can see here that I've installed this. I'm getting really good connectivity to it. And it was a kind of like a drop-in replacement. It also works over PoE, so no adapter. It's very simple. When you unbox the equipment, that's pretty much all you have is you have the Peplink AP1AX, that's the model that I had. When you unbox that, that's what you get. You get the unit, and then you get some mounting screws, and you get like an adapter to kind of hide the physical cable that connects into the AP. So I started looking at the technical specifications of each, and I want to bring those up on the screen right now, comparing each of these units, the Unify U6 LR. Now, the reason I got the LR, that stands for long range. It ended up that it wasn't long range enough and it didn't go through two walls very well. So I ended up having to get a U6 extender, which you're looking at on your screen right now. That just plugs right into the wall. As far as I know, Peplink doesn't have an equivalent to that, which is one thing I'd really like to see. But as you can see on these specs, 802.11ax for the 2.4 gigahertz band is really a speed boost for Peplink over the Ubiquiti. And I do have quite a few components that connect on the 2.4 gigahertz band. So that was a speed improvement. Notice that it's between 600 and 1148 on that band. Both of them are Wi-Fi 6. Also, the Peplink also has a 2.5 multi-gigabit Ethernet connection versus just a single gigabit Ethernet on the Ubiquiti. The transmit power is roughly the same. The antenna gain is a little bit better on the 5 gigahertz by half a dB, and then it's better on the Peplink for the 2.4 gigahertz. So for 2.4 gigahertz connectivity, Peplink really has the benefit there. The other specs that I looked at was power and power consumption. How big was it? How much does it weigh? And then how do you manage it? That's a big deal. The power consumption, Peplink uses a little more. It's a little more power hungry than the other, but it's not anything significant. They're about the same size, about the same weight. And the really big deal is how you control these. So Unify has their own UI and the way that you can adopt that into your network, as well as Peplink has the in control software. So this really has to do with the preference of the individual. I really like the UI of the Dream Machine to show me the topology, where everything is at. It's easy to make settings in there. Some people prefer in control. Some people like the fact that you can adopt all these different components and use them within control. And there's so much to them. There's so many settings that you can control in there. So I want to take you through what I feel like are advantages for moving over to Peplink versus disadvantages. So from an advantages standpoint, simplified management, the Peplink APs do have their own UI and they can be managed individually. They don't necessarily need another controller to do that. With Unify, you have to use the Unify app, whether that's the mobile app or through the web UI. You have to use that to adopt the wireless AP, and then you can control it from there. I really feel like there's better reliability with the Peplink. They have a more consistent long-term performance compared to Ubiquiti. At least that's been my experience. And a user-friendly interface. The Peplink GUI is considered easier and more intuitive than Ubiquiti's interface. I like the look, the sexiness of the Ubiquiti interface, especially the mobile app is very easy to use to me, but I think most people would consider the UI in Peplink easy to use as well, as long as you know your way around settings. You have a built-in AP controller, so the Peplink routers have a built-in controller that simplifies network management, and they have the in control to support. That's a cloud platform that gives you additional remote management capabilities for not only that, but all the other devices that you have that are Peplink. Now, let's look at some of the disadvantages. It is costlier to buy the Peplink product by probably about $150 more. I did end up having to buy two of these units, and the reason for that is that this U6 extender, I couldn't find the equivalent of that. And there's going to be people watching this video that are going to correct me. So look in the comments and see if I've been corrected. If I have, I might have to edit this video. But I couldn't find something that was just so simple. I could just plug it into the wall and it would just repeat back from the AP. So I bought two APs and I put one on one side of the house, one in another, and I can just go from one end to the other, walk through, and it'll just pick up. I label them the exact same Wi-Fi access point name, and it just picks it up and it runs with it. So let's go back to other disadvantages. Less community support. I think that's a valid argument because a lot of people who are doing home labs and stuff like that, they're using Ubiquiti and Unify products. They're sharing information. With Peplink, it's a tighter community right now. Maybe that's going to change. There are fewer reviews and benchmarks of Peplink's products as well, because Ubiquiti just has a lot of people that are always talking about them and reviewing them. So there's just a little less information on the web, so you have to do more research. There are also some potential performance trade-offs. So while Peplink may offer more consistent performance, some of the tests show that the Ubiquiti's long range is a little bit longer. It's probably because of that little bit of a dBi boost on the 5 gigahertz range. That's probably why. I can't say that for certain. It could potentially achieve higher throughput under ideal conditions. There's also the Unify ecosystem. I can't use the Peplink Wi-Fi AP with the Unify system, and it doesn't integrate with it. The U6LR is specifically designed for long-range applications. That's not really what the Peplink was designed for, although it does it well. And you can always get more and repeat the signal, but it does require additional purchases. So that is, in a nutshell, what I found. I'm very happy with the Peplink devices. Setup was very easy. If you're used to setting up an AP, it's more robust. And now that I have 2 of them, I can eliminate a bad AP. If we had another power outage or something and I tried the same troubleshooting, at least I would have a backup AP for that. I'm now in a hybrid situation between using the Ubiquiti products and the Peplink products. I would love to see Peplink's version of a Dream Machine. Not sure that they would ever want to build something like that. I would also like to see Peplink look at their UI and see if they can do some kind of updating that brings it into a more modern interface. Not that you have to copy what Ubiquiti is doing, but just what I'm saying. It seems more like an early 2000s version of a UI. And I think if they spent some time and some investment in that, that would go a long way to getting a lot of other users wanting to use it, just because some people are visually oriented. I think that Peplink needs to do a better job of marketing their products to let people know, especially the IT community, know how good their products really are, and that they're not only made for a home lab. I would want them to market to the home lab user, but they're really good for the enterprise as well, and they are good for large ships, like cruise ships. They're good for aircraft. They're good for yachts. Mobile healthcare units are using these devices, not only their cellular routers, but their wireless AP when they need to provide an access point as well. A lot of these access points, they have a built-in page that you can set up that's much like when you go to a hotel and you have to put in your name and room number and all that stuff just to get Wi-Fi access. That front door to that's already it's something that you can build in very quickly and customize as well, and that's not something that the U6 is going to offer. So it's more made for higher end home lab into the enterprise, but it works really, really well for somebody who wants something robust. That's my opinion about it. You can see from the video that I've shared kind of what I'm seeing in terms of throughput from a internet test, speed test. So you make up your own mind if you like it. There are some links that I'm putting in the description. There are links to buypeplink.com. If you use my code on buypeplink.com, if you buy one of these and you use my code PERFTOUR, PERFTOUR, you will get an additional percentage off, and they're going to throw in some of my 503 blend coffee, which is completely awesome. If you don't know about that, there's also links in the YouTube description about my coffee as well, that's worth buying the whole thing right there. So if you do get it and you do check it out, I'd like to know what your experience with these access points are. You can reach me through most social media platforms. You can also email me at heyscott@smcjournal.com, and I would love to hear from you and hear what your experience is with this product. And last but not least, it would be great if you could subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and help that YouTube algorithm figure out how awesome this channel really is and that the content is worthy of watching. So that's it for today's show. This is Scott Moore thanking you once again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.